everyone. Jordan here with zBuyer. I've got Misty here with me. I'm excited for this. Misty and I recently had the chance to connect. She's worked closely with many people inside the zBuyer team for off and on several years. We'll kind of dive into that a little bit more. But recently, Misty and I connected and kind of heard about what she's doing, how she's doing things differently. And probably the thing that's going to bring all of you guys here, Misty was telling me how she's converting zBuyer leads at a super high level, having great success with it, and doing it pretty quickly as well from kind of start to end. She's really got this timeline narrowed down. So Misty, real quick, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Definitely. My name is Misty. I am a team leader and we're in Texas, and we've got several listing agents that I personally book appointments for. So our main lead source that we use right now for those listings is zBuyers, and we are killing it. So I'm excited to kind of dive in and talk about that.
Yeah, to kind of start this off, because I know this is always a question that comes up. For context, can you give us an idea of how many leads you're taking on monthly, Misty?
We get probably, I don't know the exact number because we recently upped it, but I probably get, I'm going to say 350 a month.
Yeah, I'm checking real quick, and this is something that I should have had pulled up, but
we added a couple of different zip codes, so we kind of maxed out what we had, and so I expanded, and I don't know the exact number right now.
We've got you set for 450 a month.
There you go. So I know it was somewhere right in there.
Yeah, you're definitely taking on a good amount with us. I mean, it's not a small volume by any means. So one thing that it'll lead into is kind of what process do you have in place to handle that amount of volume? Because
so I will tell you, you don't want to take on that many unless you have systems and processes in place, because they will quickly fall through the cracks. But we run all of our leads through Sierra. Sierra is our CRM. And through a lot of trial and error, we have just kind of perfected the way we run zBuyer sellers through our CRM. From the beginning, I don't find that the early leads, like the brand new leads, are where the majority of the fruit is. Okay. So I kind of look at it in different layers. When they first come in, they get hit pretty hard with our technology and our systems. We're speaking very direct to how they came in. So they very likely answered to some type of an ad that says, do you want a cash offer on your house? So when they come in, we're speaking very direct to that. You inquired about this. When can I meet you and see the house to progress this? Knowing fully well that we can, pitch it to an iBuyer or to one of our investment groups and truly get them a cash offer. So we hit them really hard in the beginning. I would say maybe 7, maybe if we're lucky, probably not. I'm going to go 5 to 7% of the ones that come in within the first 10 to 15 days are the low-hanging fruit that are like, oh yeah, thanks for calling. I filled out the stuff online and sure, let's meet. So it's a very
small percentage of them.
It's a very small percentage. Yes, which is fine, because again, we've got our systems and processes in place that keep them, churning through it for years upon years. Mm-hmm. But so we get that low-hanging fruit, which is good. And it's just speaking to what they came in on. A lot of texting. We also email and we also call, because we don't know what their preferred method of communication is. Right. So we take that low-hanging fruit. But I'll tell you, I think a big part of understanding that is a lot of where agents might fail initially, because statistically agents don't follow up, right? They get a lead, they call once or twice, they say no, and they let it go. That's not where the fruit of these leads is. Those are just kind of the icing.
Yeah. One thing I want to jump into, Misty, because there's a lot of people that I talk to, on a daily and weekly basis that say, I've used zBuyer before. I didn't have success. Why should I try again? And I'm just going to be honest here. You started with us October of 2016, was your very first time with us. And it looks like you, between then to today, have started and canceled 6 times.
Wow.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And, you and I have had some, real conversations about this, but, before you got to where you are now, where you got everything perfected, you worked out the kinks in the process, what was it in the past that, caused you to not have success? And what are you doing now that's addressed that and, leading you to have the success?
Yeah, first and foremost, probably the first 2, maybe even 3, because I don't know the exact dates that we started with zBuyer. We did not know the language to speak to these people to. We assumed they were like our, and maybe we were even told, hey, you need to speak to them this way. But we really did have to kind of get beat up through the process to learn. But then once we figured it out, it was like magical. So I'm going to go like the first few times we just didn't, number one, we didn't have the systems in place to follow up, so if I was barely getting the low hanging fruit, my ROI wasn't good enough, right? Because by, that small percentage that's dropping through with a maybe, and maybe, maybe they don't even ever turn into a yes, there's not going to be an ROI. Right. So we really had to get our language straight on what we were saying. So the second part of why it didn't work for us, we were once a very, very large team. And so zBuyer was our source that we were feeding our agents with. The buyers at one point were our best lead source. And so when we kind of broke that team up and got into a different model, we started, we stopped zBuyer again at that point because I didn't need that level of leads. Okay. Another thing that I know failed for us was we tried to overkill zBuyer leads with value that looked like a lot of money, sending out a lot of postcards, sending out a lot of written material. Yes, that can work, but it's very expensive. So I think that was another reason that caused us to fail. We were overkilling and treating them maybe like we would a referral, a referral source that was like, hey, I'm thinking about listing my house in a few months. And so we started dropping glossy, brochures on them, not what these people were looking for at all. Right. So it was a real drain on money. So that was another reason that we failed.
What I hear from that real quick is just understanding zBuyer leads and our place in your funnel. We're not the, top of funnel, just random Facebook leads that are, 2-3 years out. But we're also not, like you just mentioned, the referral leads that are immediate business. We're somewhere in between there. You have to cater your approach and your marketing to that place in the funnel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's a trial and error. It has been a trial and error for us. I am old school real estate. I started real estate back in the day when everything was in print and we didn't even have the MLS we didn't even have the internet. So I get like the mentality of the zBuyer lead because it's very much like the conversations I remember having back then with sellers before we had all these beautiful websites and all this amazing stuff we could share. It was true, just grit, conversation on like, what's going on? Do you want me to buy your house? Do you want me to try to find a buyer? So for me, it really is, I've always known it's in line with what I've been taught from the get-go in real estate, especially on the, the seller side, but you really, really, really have to spend time kind of dialing in on your system and process that's going to work. And I don't think it's the same for everybody. Like we've taken, if I look across the board from the time the lead comes in to the time that we convert it, which I can go back on some of them and it's a couple, maybe even 3 years. Yeah. Like old zBuyer leads are the fruit of, what we've got in our database when it comes to listing leads. So, but you've got to have those systems in place. So we've taken each, piece of our system and perfected it from the first conversation to what does the initial text need to say? What do you need to speak to later when somebody's aged, 60, 90, 120 days and, they're ignoring us now, they're not responding, or they've told us no, maybe they've told us no 10 times. What do you do with that lead? I'll tell you, we don't stop. because those no's turn into yeses with these leads over time.
Definitely. A lot of it is, taking the no and understanding why they're saying no. Oftentimes it's no, not right now. It's not a forever no. It's a no, not right now, and understanding when is it going to be a yes? What needs to change to get to that yes? Understanding more of their intent, why they came through the marketing, what sparked that curiosity, what is their situation. One thing I want to throw at you, Misty, because we're hearing a lot of this right now, a lot of people facing this, is they get into the phone call and the person says, I'm not interested in selling, I'm not interested in buying, I just wanted to know what my home's worth. How do you respond to that? Because a lot of people just throw the lead away and say, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to bug you. How do you take that?
Okay, number one, the way we look at zBuyers is it's a volume. For us, it's volume, because I can put my listing agents, any agent on our team at any given time is on 3 to 4 and sometimes 5 to 7 appointments a day.
Okay.
And keep in mind, we do bring in expireds, but 90% of the leads that I'm talking about are zBuyers. So for me, it's a volume thing. And to speak to that, I get this objection from my listing agents a lot, like the quality of the lead, the quality of the appointment. We look at every opportunity as an opportunity to talk to somebody that might want to do real estate. I can point to a million times where somebody has referred us to their neighbor or a friend when that opportunity, maybe they are just kicking tires. Maybe they are not seriously interested and they're just trying to get their tax evaluation to fight their taxes. It's an opportunity. And we all know that in numbers in real estate, anytime you can get face-to-face with somebody that might want to do real estate, it's an opportunity that you don't want to miss. And I will tell you, what I hear over the phone as an ISA or via text is not what I hear or what my listing agents hear when we are face-to-face with these people. There is a huge disconnect, and I don't know, to them, when you're on the phone initially, you're a salesperson. Right. So of course their objection is, no, I'm just curious.
Right.
They're also very likely going through something in their life. If they filled out hey, give me a cash offer on my house, they're probably not, they're probably going through something, death, divorce. You have to assume, maybe they're not. We get $1 million, we've got 3, 1.5, 1.8, and 1 point something else listings right now that they didn't have any issues going on. They just filled out the ad because they were curious. We got in front of them, we listed their house, and it's awesome. But the majority of them, you have to assume that something's going on with them.
Right. And
so you just got to speak to them with the language, and they will tell you up front, I'm just curious. Well, I'm just curious too. But if I'm offered the right number on my house, I'll probably sell it to you today. I just moved into this house. But if somebody walks up on my doorstep and gives me an offer or gives me an opportunity, I probably would say yes too. So you just have to kind of get past that and not pigeonhole yourself into limited thinking, like I've only got one opportunity. Like right. I can either list their house or lose. No, you can meet face to face with a seller that probably knows other sellers, and maybe he's just telling you no because he thinks you're just a salesperson like the other 10 people that called him before you did.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a point, from the emotional appeal of seeing the ad, coupled with whatever their situation is in life. Sometimes, like you said, death, divorce, they inherited a house, whatever the case is, there's that. And sometimes it's nothing, like you mentioned. Sometimes it's just the emotional appeal of the ad. And then from that first phone call, that first text, that email, whatever it is that made that connection, but then breaking down some of those barriers and building trust, building rapport. You're a complete stranger at that point. Why should they, open up and tell you about their divorce that they're going through, or, the family member that passed, or they lost a job and have to downsize? That's a lot of personal information to give away 2 minutes into a phone call to some stranger you know nothing about. Totally. So building, up that trust, building the rapport, breaking down some of those barriers, adding value in there as well, to get to the truth, get to the reason, what was the root of why you did this. And then understanding, if they're not a today seller, if they're not a today buyer, well, when are they? What can we do to stay in front of you? So that kind of leads me to my next question, kind of topic here. You have kind of shifted your role in your business, focus more on, as an ISA for your team. So what does that look like? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So initially it was because I had to. I had all these leads. I had a very large team that wasn't very profitable. And I was like, all right, what am I going to do here? So I chose the path of least resistance in a way that, well, maybe it was most resistance, but I dove in head first because I was like, if anybody can convert these leads in our database, I can. So what happened was I kind of got addicted to finding out real estate is a numbers game. All of these lead sources are a numbers game. If you can find a good source like zBuyer that can get you good quality information, 9 times out of 10, the phone numbers are good. 9 times out of 10, the emails are good. The information is good. So if I can get good information into my database, then all I got to do is continually stay in front of these people until they answer me. And these people will stay radio silent for a long time. I can look at my database and just see, that we're like hitting them every other day, like whatever it is, we're hitting them. And then there will go months and months. So anyways, I got fascinated with the numbers that are real estate. It was a basis where I could start to coach my agents on. There's no more objections of, oh, these are bad leads, or, oh, there's not enough leads, or, nobody's ready to do business today. It became a real fascination with numbers. I know hands down 100% all day long, every day, even on my worst day, that I can make 200 calls and my numbers are always the same. I can always get at least 10 people to answer. I can always at least get one appointment set, and I may get my, the phone slammed on my ear 100 times, but it doesn't matter because it's a numbers game. And so I really got fascinated with that. And that's where all of this goodness with zBuyer was kind of bred, which was, all right, guys, we know these are good leads. We keep coming back to them. Why are we not having the success we want to? And then I just dove in head first as an ISA, doing the hard work. I just handed the baton off to another one of my ISAs who I still handhold kind of along the way, making sure that he's doing everything the way that I like it to be done and that we're constantly evolving and changing. But it's been a fascinating journey, and I'm very, very thankful that I made that choice to kind of dive into it, because it really kind of has kicked out something really, really cool. And that's why we're here today.
Yeah. And, that's kind of, where I'm at, within the industry, within the space, the lead generation side, but understanding the numbers. And I see it from 2 different points. I see it from, our sales team working, calling realtors every day to sell our product, and then, helping coach and guide realtors into converting our products. 2 totally different worlds. And neither one of them are overnight successes. I think a lot of realtors jump into our platform with, the wrong expectations that every one of these leads they're going to call, they're going to get them. Maybe if not the first call, it's the second call. But the thing is, the majority of the people don't have that plan in place for when the first call, when the second call, and by gosh, if a third call doesn't work, what do we do then? Yeah. So I know you guys have been perfecting this, building this out. I mean, going on 6 years off and on with zBuyer, learning from it. And you are opening it up to where you can take on a few agents to work their leads for them. Is that right? I can, absolutely. So I love what we have built, and I am a systems guru. Like, that's what I do. Everything that I build out, if I put my hands on it, it has to be scalable and replicatable. It's just who I am at the core of my being. So as I kind of went into my little cave and started to really dissect these leads and how to convert them at a high level, like it was always my favorite lead source. I did not enjoy the other big portals. Those were not fun to me. There was nothing enjoyable about these, but zBuyers have always been fun. We just didn't have the systems and processes. So when I went head down and I really started to build out processes, like every single lead that comes into our database goes through the same experience.
I started to build something that was scalable. And I was like, why wouldn't I roll this out to other people? Because here's the truth. I have, in all those times that I've had zBuyer and canceled, I have had many, many, many ISA companies. At one point, I think I tried every one that I knew about, at least that came on some kind of a referral from a peer or a mentor. I gave them a try, and none of them gave me the results. Now, it was the results that I was looking for with the zBuyer sellers. Not that they weren't great companies. It's just that they didn't understand, like we didn't understand initially, who they were talking to and exactly how these leads needed to run through the system. Right. So with that, I started to build out my own. I built it out for our agents. I have a team of agents. They're all on salary. They're, they have a full-time job to go on appointments all day long. And I am responsible for getting them out there and keeping them as busy as I can. And so what I realized about 90 days ago was, number one, we have something pretty freaking phenomenal. Two, it's scalable. Like, it's just click a button, add a new agent, and run with it, and let me run other people's leads through the same system and kick out the same results on the other end.
Very cool. With that, let me ask, because I know, everyone wants to know, how many leads are you getting? What kind of results are you getting? Why would I want to go with you? Maybe not try and do this myself or go to another company. I know you kind of shared an idea of how many appointments your agents are staying on a daily basis, but do you have an idea of, on a month's time from about 450 leads, which you recently increased that, how many appointments, how many listings, kind of what that equates to long-term, the numbers everyone's curious about?
Absolutely. I do have reporting. Let me see. Oh, my mouse is not working. So, we never have less than 3 a day.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with one. We have one listing agent that's killing it. I have 2 newer ones, so I'm not going to use them.
Okay.
But, and then let me look at my reporting and see if I can find some of that. I'll pull it up if you want to ask another follow-up question to it. But it is, and with that, so if we have 450 leads, I think that's a pretty good idea of what we get consistently. That's what we'll use it on. Of course, all my notifications are going off.
I imagine your phone stays pretty busy, Misty.
It does. Luckily, I don't do any of my ISA work in my my personal phone. I keep everything in the database, so it's very organized. The other thing that we do is we have a scalable system where it doesn't always have to be me. I feel like we use aliases. Yeah. So I can quickly input, I can take, ISA A and put them on my database, and they can work my database at any given time and work as me as well. But I'm going to do some quick math because my system isn't working, but we're going to go, let's just take it on a low end. And let's say there's, 30 days in a month. And let's say, let's just go 5 days a week.
Okay.
Let's say 20 days. We're working with 20 days. My system is coming back up.
That's the way it always works. When you're doing something live and you go to pull something up, it never.
Yeah, I would say, 60 appointments is about, the last time I ran this report, and I can't get in right now, it was about 60 appointments.
Okay. And then from your appointments to listings, I know this is something that, if someone comes to you and says, Misty, I want you to do this for me, I want you to replicate what you're doing, it's totally up to them to get the listing. You can set up the appointment. It's up to them to get the listing. But what does that look like for you and your team?
I will tell you, it is a messy process. And here's what's messy. There are no-shows happen because of the nature of the beast.
Absolutely.
We started running a third-party program where it confirms via text. So our ISA set the appointments. We're always getting better at what we say and how we confirm the appointment to make sure that it's, a good appointment. The messy side of it is you got to do a little more due diligence. You've got to make sure that the person that you're talking to is the person that owns the house. They may say they're the person that owns the house, but maybe there's a little more like due diligence. And I feel like if we go on a listing appointment for any source, you do that due diligence, right? You look at the tax records, but there is times, and it doesn't happen all the time, but it seems like we've gone through a few phases where there's been extra no-shows, or people, when you knock on the door and they're like, that wasn't me, so it must not be the owner that we're talking to, they're just messing with us or whatever. But the reality is that's going to happen anytime when you're working on a volume type lead source. So on any given day, I mean, we're getting 2 new listings a day. We have so many listings right now. Everybody on my team is running around crazy. We've got a full-time photographer out there getting photos. So, I mean, we are having massive success. But my point to that is you've got to have a tolerance, and you've got to understand some of these may be a 2-step appointment. They may be because we're speaking to them about the cash offer that they requested. 100%, I can find an investor to buy your house cash. But, and 9 times out of 10, when you get there, they don't care. They just want to sell their house. They're not like, where's my cash offer? But sometimes they're like, oh, I thought you were bringing a cash offer, in which case you've got to be trained as an agent to be prepared for that and really be a consultant. You're no longer the suit and tie agent showing up with your glossy portfolio, sitting in front of them and talking about why you're the agent. You've got to come in with a consultant mentality. Yes, I can 100% get you a cash offer. I don't know if the price is going to be what you want. 45 days, 60 days ago, it probably was, because iBuyers and investors were paying really good prices. Today, that's changed.
Right.
So we've got to have a tolerance level, knowing that depending on what happens in that appointment, we see double appointments. And here's what will happen. Our agent goes to the house. He either gets it listed or he doesn't, or he, gets it to an iBuyer or he doesn't. Whatever happens, it gets back in our system. They may go quiet for a little while. They may have had like a death or something major that went on, and they were urgent to get some answers. But maybe that situation calmed a little bit and now they're ghosting you. We see those same people pop out again in our system multiple times, and our agents will be like, oh, I've already gone to this house, but they go again. And the second time is where the fruit of the labor really is. So it's just very, very different. And it takes a mindset, takes the right mindset to work these.
Absolutely. So one question for you, because when we talked before, you were telling me how what you're doing is different than a typical ISA company as far as the kind of continued support through the appointment phase, through the listing phase. What does that look like, and what can you offer to someone?
We're going to take, for those agents that we work with, and there's going to be some coaching involved too, because if you are not in the right mindset to convert these leads, you're not going to have success. And you're going to be mad at me, and you're going to be mad at zBuyer, and it's not going to work out. So we need to make sure you're in the right mindset. But for those agents that we opt to take on to help with these, we're going to, it's not like my experience with other ISAs where they just set the appointment and good luck, and if there's this big gap in the conversion cycle, which is, there's no help after it, whatever happens. Maybe I get there and they don't show up. Maybe I get there and I meet with them and I have a great appointment and I follow up, but there's this big gap. And so what we're going to do is help you get it all the way to closing. So whatever happens on that appointment, we're going to set the appointment, we're going to pre-qualify it, we're going to get it in our scheduling service that texts them and confirms and reminds them and lets them know the day of, hey, don't forget we have an appointment. We're going to run it through all of that. Whatever happens on the appointment, hopefully you are that consultant and you get in front of them and you have a great conversation and you get the listing or you get an iBuyer offer or whatever it is. But if not, we're going to take that lead back and we're going to work it again through our system until you get it listed. We're going to be the ones that are getting yelled at because we will reach out 1,000 times. Even after the word no to me does not mean no. The word stop in my CRM means I can't text you anymore, but I can still call you and I can change my phone number and then I can still text you. So we are relentless. So we're going to do all of that. And then after we get it from, after you get it listed, we even have some processes for taking it all the way to the closing table. I haven't rolled this out to anybody yet, but we have listing coordinators, again, part of our machine, because we spit out so many listings. We have to have a well-oiled machine where we're putting it in the MLS, getting everything done. So we even have that service that we're going to roll out to those clients that we take on to get it to the closing table.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So one question, can I go back to what you said a minute ago? Is, you're there to help, you're there to get the appointment, solidify the appointment, qualify, make sure everything's in place. They go on the appointment. What happens though, if, say the agent tanks it, the homeowner just is not ready? Do you have things in place for the agent to turn around and say, Misty, we went on the appointment, they're just not ready. What can we do to continue nurturing?
Yeah, that's what we'll do. Because the agent may tank it. You never know. You just might not be prepared for what you walk into. Some of these houses are overwhelming, but you tell us, we have I won't say we have a lot of them, but we do have some where the agents are like, we can't list that. We will list anything. Don't get me wrong. We are not picky, but there is just some things, you can't. We had one recently where the agent was just like, it is a solid no. Okay, well, it's out of our database. We're not chasing this one anymore. So we're going to leave it up to the agent. But again, this is not a lead source for that ultra polished agent that's all about, I just keep visualizing, if you're rolling up in your Bentley and your manicured nails in it, it's probably not this is a lead source where you really have to be willing to get down and dirty and be willing to help people. I really think that's what it comes down to. If you're the resilient person that can go into a $100,000 listing that they may be battling foreclosure and they need help, and you're willing to work with that person and then easily walk into a $1.8 million listing 3 hours later and be consistent with those two people, then that's kind of what we have found. There's no you kind of just got to be willing to get down and dirty.
Absolutely. The one thing, that $100,000 home and that $1.8 million home, they both need an educator. They both need someone who's an expert in their market, who's an expert to come show them what are your options. We have cash buyers, iBuyers. We can look at the listing route, but to work with them on a one-on-one level, put any, judgments aside, whatever the situation is, and say, hey, I'm here to help you. Let's show you the options. Let's pick an option and let me put a plan in place to get you out of this as easy and fast as possible.
Yeah, totally.
That's the thing, the common denominator, no matter what the price point, no matter what the situation, they want someone to educate, to work with, not to sell them. They want someone to help them. So whenever we can come from that place of value, that place of empathy, connect with them on a personal level, and not show up in the Bentley and be the perfect, polished suit and tie agent. Totally. Nothing wrong with that, but there has to be some human interaction.
That's exactly what it is. You just never know. Obviously you do your homework before you go out on your appointments, but you truly just don't know what you're going to walk into. I could give you guys some stories that, it's funny. We have the Chronicles of Real Estate going on. It is we get some funny stuff, but you know what? We treat everybody with respect. And like I said, right now we've got 2 or 3 listings that are above 1.5 million. All 3 of them are priced very well. They will sell even in this market. And that's the fruit of it. That's the fun stuff we get to go on. The rest of it is, some of it is truly, you just roll with the punches. And you know what? I'm just thankful that we get to go on appointments, and we get to go on this many appointments every single day and meet people, and that our business is thriving and that we have so much opportunity. I don't care as long as I'm out there helping.
Yeah, of course. And, I think one thing that leads to your business thriving is you will help that $100,000 home just as quick and eagerly as you go help that $1.8 million home. Everyone's an opportunity. Everyone needs a house to live in at the end of the day. And that's your role. What can you do to help them?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's, you know, you can definitely filter it down a little bit, but I feel like for us, if we're going to be taking on agents to run this ISA program for, I'm looking for people that have our mindset. Now, there are deals we say no to, like we really don't go below 100,000.
Yep.
Simply because there's really nothing that is that we can sell right now in our market. Like if it's something that's under 100, it's probably a shack that's falling down and not inhabitable and maybe just land, which is an opportunity too. But you can filter, I mean, obviously based on your market, but we're looking for like-minded people who are, you know, willing to get out there. And because you never know, you might think you're walking into something totally different, but you walk in and I can't tell you how many hoarders we've come across, which you can't even get in the front door of the house. And if you're the agent that's going to tell them like, oh, you need to clean it up and stage it, you're probably not going to have a lot of success in this business with zBuyers because it's just not the people that you're working with. These people often are in a situation that they need help.
Absolutely. Misty, I'm going to turn around whenever we're done with this and share it with our database. It's already in our Facebook group. It's got a few thousand people in there. But for someone coming to you that's interested in what you do, wants you to help them, what are some things, some kind of precursors, let's call them, you know, what are you going to look for? What do you want them to have in place already?
You really don't need to have anything in place. I'm looking at our systems. Obviously you need to have zBuyer leads. That's probably the most important. We're going to run them through our system and we're going to stay in front of them from day one. Like I want them on day one, until day, I don't know. We won't ever finish. So I don't know what that day is, but I want them from day one so that I can start working them. Actually, old leads are fine too. So we're going to import the old ones, but going forward, you know, you just need the zBuyer leads. I'm going to run them through my CRM. They should get routed to you as well. You should obviously have some kind of, you know, CRM that you're keeping up with your leads. But I'm going to run them through my systems. I'm going to set the appointments. You're going to get access to a system that we use where we set our appointments, and you're just going to get notified when appointments get set. I think other than having zBuyer leads, you know, coming in monthly, you've got to just have the right mindset. So I feel like it's probably going to be either a mastermind or even one-on-one. If we have a couple of people that we're working with, I'll jump on one-on-one. We need to get your mindset in the right place. I've watched myself kind of evolve through this, you know, being a solo agent, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, whatever it's been. I know who I was then, and now I look at who I am and who our team is now, and the evolution of who we've grown into and how we work these zBuyers. It's a huge part of it. Really getting that right mindset on of being that consultant, knowing what all your options are, knowing how to, you know, realizing that you are an investor. If you walk in and you see something, you don't have to buy it with your own money. There's other opportunities. Like you can buy these houses yourself. So, and there's a lot of different ways to structure that. So I got to get these people in the right mindset to really just have full success. So it's almost like just giving us the steering wheel and you get to come along for the ride. But I also got to tell you like where we're going and what it looks like so that you, who's getting out there boots on the ground, are doing the things correctly so that you don't feel like a failure when you get out there and you feel like you're dropping the ball because you're not saying the right things.
Yeah, absolutely. I've put your contact information in the chat so anyone can reach you there. Looks like we had Barry Jenkins with us here for a bit. He said, go Misty. So thanks for jumping on here. I'm excited. What I would like to do is let's touch base again in the future.
Yeah.
And whenever you bring some agents into this, bring one of those agents on here. Because, you know, someone coming to you because, you know, maybe they're not seeing success or they want to grow and scale, kind of do a case study. You know, where were you at before? What were you facing? What challenges? You know, how has working with Misty, you know, helped you overcome some of that? What are your numbers looking like? You know, how has it changed your business?
I will have a case study coming up. I'm actually hiring. I've been in contact with her for a very long time. We're bringing on a new listing agent. And she is used to very high volume. She's a hustler. She's got the right mindset. She's starting with us next week. And I'm so excited to kind of get her started and run her through the system, because she's going to be my little case study compared to what she's doing with the other brokerage that she's with and joining us. So I'm actually really excited to, so maybe we could use her. She's amazing, and it'll be a good fresh start.
That would be awesome. Well,
Yeah.
let's plan on doing this again then in 30, 60 days out. And we could definitely dive into that, bring her on, see, you know, how her mindset has changed, how her business has changed, where her focus and priority is now. But anyone, if you guys are interested in getting in touch with Misti, talking more about what she has to offer, seeing if it's the right fit for you, I've got Misti's phone number here in the chat. So definitely reach out to her, call, text. Misti's busy. You might have to call, leave a voicemail, send a text, just like she's going to work your leads for you. Follow up with her. But Misti, thanks so much for jumping on here. This was fun. I'm excited to see it again here in the future.
So fun. I love it. And thank you for asking me. And we love zBuyer.
Yeah. I'm glad we were able to connect and dive into what you're doing. So everybody, again, thanks for joining us today. Hopefully we'll be seeing more of Misti here soon.
Awesome.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Have a good one.